Next on BYUSN, power in numbers. What exactly are we looking for from BYU tomorrow against the Wyoming Cowboys? We'll discuss.
Plus, we are being compelled to bring on Dennis Pitta today. Why we have time when we didn't before. He's finally made it to the BYU Hall of Fame. All it took was a little graduation from classes.
He just needed to graduate. Hopefully he's graduated from out of his mother's basement, too.
He was living with his parents.
Welcome to BYU Sports Station, everyone, wherever and however you're connected. Great to have you with us. I am Spencer Linton, teamed up alongside Jarom Jordan. Or should I call you Jayton Jordan or Jarom Jordan?
Yeah, last night someone on Twitter called me Jayton, J-A-T-O-N. I had never heard that one. That's a new one, which I applaud the creativity. I really appreciate that. Speaking of creativity, did you hear about Tim Schloss, a.k.a. Slick Nick, a.k.a. Jimmer Fredette, going undercover at walk-on tryouts yesterday? If you missed it, we'll show it to you later. If you already saw it, it's hilarious. He wears a fat suit and gets some buckets. BYU versus Wyoming tomorrow. We've got you covered in game day guarantees and game notes and our fantasy football picks. Will I actually win 1 week this year? We'll find out. Why I'm about to go 0-4 in a huge volleyball match tomorrow with BYU and Pepperdine, both in the top 20. And why it's bigger than just the match for Heather Olmstead. But first, let's get after it. It's Friday with some headlines.
Yes, a happy Friday and a happy game day eve. BYU hosting Wyoming tomorrow night, Lavelle Edwards Stadium, prime time. We know what that means for BYU over the last 3 years.
A dub.
A lot of wins. 10:15 p.m. Eastern Time, slated for kickoff. 2 hours and 15 minutes before that at 8 Eastern, 6 Mountain. BYU Sports Nation Game Day gives you anything and everything you could possibly want to know to prepare you for the Cowboys and Cougars version 2022.
Sione Takitaki had 3 tackles in a Browns 29-17 win over the Steelers last night. They've won 3 of 5. They had won 3 of the previous 21 against the Steelers. How about that? Taysom Hill and Daniel Sorensen with the Saints played the Panthers. Tyler Algiers' Falcons look to defeat my tanking Seahawks. The Niners with Fred Warner play at Denver. Let's ride. On Sunday Night Football, Kyle Van Noy and the Chargers play the Jaguars. And Jamal Williams and the resurgent Lions take on the Skull of Minnesota.
16th ranked BYU women's volleyball opens up West Coast Conference play successfully with a 3-0 sweep of LMU led by Erin Livingston, rocking the BYU Sports Nation karma. She had 12 kills.
I said she'd have 13. I missed by 1.
You wanted the baker's dozen.
I love a baker's dozen, dude.
Whitney Bauer added 28 assists and 8 digs in that BYU win. Now the Cougars get 17th ranked Pepperdine tomorrow, 3 Eastern, 1 Mountain on BYU TV and the BYU TV app. Coach Heather Olmstead going for her 200th win all time already.
She has 9 games to become the fastest coach in D1 history to do that. That's going to happen.
Unbelievable.
And perhaps tomorrow. Tonight, 6 new members will enter the BYU Athletic Hall of Fame. They are Rachel Nureen, women's golf, Lindsay Lisenby, soccer, Miles Batty, cross country, Yvonne Perez, men's volleyball, Joanne Calderwood, athletics, and Dennis Pitta of football, who will join us in the next segment.
I believe it's Dustin.
Dustin
I believe it's
Pitta.
Dustin. Cross country tomorrow at the Cowboy Jamboree in Stillwater, Oklahoma.
That sounds fun.
Yes. 4th-ranked men's team will square off against 15 of the latest top 30 ranked teams. Number 7 BYU women's cross country will face 10 different ranked opponents. This is big time. This is big time track where they've had nationals before.
Yes, it is. Have you been to anything called a Jamboree before?
The Scout Jamboree?
Yeah, in like Midway
Jamboree
or Park City.
When I was like 12, I don't know, 10.
Yeah. Have you been to a jamboree that's not a good time?
When I was in pursuit of my Weeblos merit badge,
Weeblos are endangered. We need to save the Weeblos. Men's golf tees off at the William H. Tucker Intercollegiate this morning, where the Cougars have won the tourney 3 of the last 4 years in Albuquerque, the land of enchantment.
Shout out to Swim and Dive. Season starts today, 4 Eastern, and what a way to start it against Utah in a relay meet at the Richards Building Pool. Free admission to the public.
And another headline that I forgot that we need to mention, Tom Walker, longtime BYU women's rugby coach, stepping down, got a different job that's going to require more time for him. Won multiple national championships. That team has repped really well off the field for BYU. As of October 10th, that'll be his last day. So shout out to Tom Walker for a tremendous career.
Great stuff. Those are your headlines. All rise and shout. It's time for What's Trending, presented by Bodyguards. Protection for a life worth living. Learn more at bodyguards.com. Listen, there is power in numbers. And there are some things we are looking at as they relate to statistics and numbers to be watching for as BYU welcomes Wyoming. For the first time in 6 years, these teams will meet tomorrow night at LaVell Edwards Stadium. So we'll go in depth with our game notes, Jarom. And why not lead off with something that we've been talking about all week, dealing with BYU's success at night.
Okay, first game note. Shout out to Nate Slack for this one. Vanquish the foe. They did good work. Since 2019, BYU's 21-1 in games that kick at 6 or later local time. That's crazy. Okay, the Cougars are 9-10 in kickoffs before 6. You'd think, oh, well, those are probably a lot of P5 games, right? Nope, only 3 of those 10 are P5 games. And a lot of those lost. UAB, Boise State, Coastal Carolina, Hawaii, San Diego State, USF, Toledo. So like quality G5s, but still, BYU's got to win those. Only 2 of those 10 are at home before 6. 9 of the 9 wins, 1 and 4 versus ranked teams before 6. But Saturday's game is after 6, so BYU's all but locked it up. The one loss was in 2019 to Utah. That was a very good Utah team that got ranked as high as 5. So has BYU already won the game against Wyoming before they even played it?
Well, by the numbers,
yes.
you're telling me that BYU has like a 96% chance of winning the game if it kicks after 8 over the last.
Which is an A in almost every class,
right? That
right?
is unbelievable.
My Spanish class junior year, 96 was an A. What? So if you were late, you'd get 2% off your grade. So if I was late, I just wouldn't show up. But anyway, BYU is the Georgia of teams that play at night.
It's crazy.
You know what I mean? BYU's unbelievable. So has BYU won tomorrow already? Yes. BYU's already won the game.
Jarom, I mean, 21 out of 22 games you've won that when you kick after 6 p.m.
Why would BYU
time?
ever kick before 6
Seriously.
at home outside of the SCF game live on BYU TV?
96%. That's unbelievable. And what you're telling me is if it kicks before 6, BYU's got essentially a coin flip, 50-50. We don't know. Well, one can't help but look ahead in the schedule, right?
Are you worried about Notre Dame?
It kicks before 6 local time. What is it, 4:30 Vegas time?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
so just before 6, 50-50 game. But you know what? That feels like a 50-50 game anyway.
It does anyway.
Yeah, so I'm
Yeah.
not so much worried about that one. I am very interested to see what ESPN decides to do with Arkansas coming to Provo on October 15th.
Hopefully at 15
Will that
Mountain.
be Big 12 After Dark with BYU hosting an SEC team?
When we say Big 12, what we just mean is BYU.
Yes.
There's no other Big 12 team that's going to do this. They're the westernmost new team, right? Yes, hopefully Arkansas is late. Liberty, we hope, is late, but probably not because it's East Coast. East Carolina is a 6 Mountain start, so that's good. That's the cutoff, right? TBA for Boise State on November 5th. Hopefully that's late, too. Utah Tech is early. That's FCS, no worries. Stanford, I wonder if that'll be a Pac-12 network game late. We'll see.
Yeah, Thanksgiving weekend. Maybe that's an afternoon kickoff, and maybe we're all talking about, could get weird in Palo Alto. Oh, sorry,
It always
Stanford,
is.
California, because Stanford, California is a thing.
Is the thing. Just the campus? Is it like the Vatican at Stanford? Is that the deal? Is it just Stanford, the campus? I don't know how that works.
I'm going to make everybody feel better about this game against Wyoming tomorrow night.
Please.
Okay, so you talked about
Do we need to
BYU's
feel better? We feel pretty good.
Yeah. BYU's dominance at night certainly is a thing. How about just overall at home?
Okay.
In the last 3 calendar years, regardless of kick time, regardless of kick time,
Irregardless.
BYU is 16-1 at home. Okay, it doesn't
One loss
matter.
being Utah.
No, it was Boise
2019.
State. So 3 calendar years.
Oh, you're saying
so we're going
2020.
from September 23rd,
feel you.
2019 to September 23rd, 2022. 3 calendar years.
Just Boise State.
1 loss, regardless of kick time in that span. And it was against Boise State last year.
I like it.
Okay, so again, time of day, I know we focus a lot on that. How about overall just BYU's really, really, really strong at home?
Finally defending LaVell Edwards Stadium. Like, I was pretty weirded out, and obviously 17's an atrocity and an anomaly. Whatever A word you want to say there. Then 2018 and 19, it's like, hey, defend home turf. It was a young BYU group that we're seeing blossom now in 2020, 21, 22. So I like that one. Okay, game note number 3. BYU's played Wyoming 78 times, Spence, most of any team not named Utah or Utah State. Okay. I did not realize that until recently. Cougars lead the series 45-30-3. Yes, Wyoming has beaten BYU 30 times. That's because BYU doth stinketh prior to 72 quite a bit, okay? Haven't lost to the Pokes since 03. Most recently, they played in the 2016 Poinsettia Bowl at that crappy stadium known as Qualcomm. Jack Murphy.
It's gone now.
Luckily, it was destroyed because that thing deserved to be destroyed. That was a 25-20 BYU dub. Of course, Josh Allen picked off by Kai Nakua. So this is a long-standing game. I do not believe that BYU is going to play Wyoming in 2024, as we've talked about, which that was the original contract.
They'll buy out of that game.
BYU buys out of that game. I don't know that BYU plays Wyoming again for a while, or maybe at all. It just depends. Remember, we're about to go into the BYU is going to play one G5 a year, probably, era in the Big 12.
Now, people say, why wouldn't BYU play Wyoming in 2024? It's the one Group of 5 game, a win.
You already have Nevada contracted as the opener at home.
That's exactly right. You've got an FCS team already scheduled. You've got Nevada at home, and then hopefully Utah.
I think it's at Utah that year.
Right.
We renew the series.
BYU's probably feeling like, yeah, it's been 2 years since BYU's played Utah. That's the big game. Then you got Nevada, then you got FCS, and now you have 9 Big 12 games.
Is there another BYU Big Power 5 that may be the skip there?
Not that I saw on FB schedules.
No,
it's just
not.
Utah.
It's at Utah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so there you go. That's why. BYU will have to pay probably a relatively small fee to get out of the Wyoming game, and I anticipate they will do that. So this is kind of the last
I don't even know if they need a buyout because they did put in clauses if we go to a P5.
Oh, yeah, depending on
maybe
the game.
There's a buyout for that, yeah.
Depending on when that was put into
Utah
place.
Tech is the FCS at Utah and Nevada.
Okay.
So there you go. We know the 3 in 2020.
Fun fact about BYU playing Wyoming, going back all the way to 1922, we talked about how BYU's first ever win as a program.
I listened to Behind the Mic.
Was a 7-0 victory against Wyoming.
There you go.
Crazy, right?
I love it.
7-0 victory against Wyoming in 1922.
Boney Fuller scored in that game. I think we talked about it Tuesday, yeah.
They played twice that year, Jarom.
Oh, interesting.
Wyoming won the second game, I think 13-7, but they played twice in 1922.
It was like 0-7 against UCLA. Yeah, he played twice.
There was a vengeance match for the Pokes in 1922 after losing to
They
BYU.
rode horses to get to the game.
Okay. Now into some specific details as it pertains to what these teams do on the field, Jarom.
Oh, yeah, that.
The fourth game note. Wyoming has a red zone scoring percentage of 91.7%. Okay, so 92%, pretty good.
Now, let's explain what red zone scoring is.
If you get inside the 20-yard line
and you score,
and you kick a field goal or you score a touchdown, then you are essentially adding to your red zone scoring percentage.
Overrated.
Okay, yes, somewhat over. It's not so much about Wyoming. This is more for me about BYU. BYU's 69% red zone scoring percentage because they've had field goal struggles.
Not nice.
And have not been able to capitalize on those opportunities. So I am watching closely on Saturday night if BYU, when they get into the red zone, they can finish drives, and if Jake Oldroyd is coming out and converting on potential field goals, especially those short ones. Because Jarom, he missed 2 in the Baylor game in the red zone.
Yes, his 3 misses in a row are between 30 and 39 yards. Those are absolutely makeable. I would say anything inside of 45 for Jake Oldroyd is like...
It feels pretty much like
pretty automatic.
He's going to make it.
Until the last 3. More into your number there. So of those 9 scores, 6 are touchdowns. BYU's 6 is 90th in the country. 46% to 113th. Not good. BYU has, you don't have to get in the red zone to score a touchdown. Certainly when you get there, you need to score a touchdown the majority of the time. I would say you need to be in the 80th percentile, you'd hope, in terms of touchdowns. Scoring, it's like, hey, how about it be 95%?
Yeah, you could be
field goal happens.
You could be 100% in red zone scoring and only kick all field goals, and that's not good.
It doesn't matter.
Right?
But BYU has scored 5 TDs outside the red zone, meaning you score 21 plus.
Big play.
2 of 50 plus. Puka Nakua, Christopher Brooks are those 2. So hoping for more consistency inside the red zone. Okay, number 5. BYU averaged 2.5 yards per carry the last 2 games versus ranked teams. That's not great. BYU put up 8.4 yards versus South Florida. I do not expect that number against a stingy Wyoming defense. I expect that BYU to split the difference there. Be about 5 yards per carry against Wyoming tomorrow.
Okay, 5 yards per carry.
Yes.
All right, we think that they're going to go 150 plus as a team, speaking of BYU.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So if you have 30 combined carries, 5 yards a carry, there's your 150.
More explosion.
Okay, just there will be
the run game.
Hoping that we see an explosive play from either Chris Brooks or Lopini Katoa, just something behind that offensive line.
Yeah, BYU's going to be like, oh, Wyoming's good, but this ain't Baylor or Oregon. Like, get it done.
And to your point, stingy Wyoming defense, we brought this up yesterday as well. Wyoming's giving up only 123 yards on the ground per opponent thus far.
That includes an Air Force game.
Which is,
like,
that's kind of weird, right?
Yeah.
Like Air Force, typically you think, oh, they're going to run for 200 plus.
Oh, 300 plus. Like, that's what they do.
It's Air Force.
Yeah.
Okay. Another interesting thing to watch, BYU's run game against that Wyoming front. Now, the final game note I'm going to present is back to special teams. I talked about some of the field goal inadequacies, especially in the red zone. The punt game, weirdly, has been weird for BYU.
Ryan Rico needs to step it up here.
It's been strange. I mean, BYU net punting a season ago, so good. 43 yards per punt net punting.
Net meaning you kick and cover there.
And cover, yes. Yeah. I mean, just one of the best teams in the country.
AKA they don't have a return typically.
Yes, because he's ripping off, on average last season, 48-plus yards per punt. This year, through 3 games, BYU's net punting average is 36.6 yards. And I know you could say, well, it's only like 6-7 yards difference. Like, how big of a deal is it? It's a big deal.
Yeah.
Like,
no, average field position is a big deal.
We point at BYU and Ryan Rico as being a weapon. Like he's so good at pinning opponents.
I would say he could be nuclear at times.
Ripping off bombs of punts, right? No pun intended with the nuclear and the bomb. Okay?
I think you meant.
But 36.6 yards, I'd like to see that up towards 40, if not what it was a season ago, 42.8.
Yes, 39.9 is not good enough on his average as well. Long of 48, 0 50+, only 2 of the 8 inside the 20.
Weird.
Ryan Rico's got to be better. Jake Oldred's got to be better. BYU's given up a kick return for a touchdown. Special teams need to be special. Right now it's just a team.
All right, Jarom, let's keep this rolling.
Game day guarantees.
Yeah, with some more numbers of sorts. We hope big numbers from certain people in these guarantees.
You've been good in game day guarantees. Hit me with 3.
All right, number 1, Lopini Katoa will score a touchdown. He's been a group of 5 opponent killer.
We hope he's all-team killer.
Lopini Katoa, the G5 killer. He will get into the end zone. His impact will be felt tomorrow night. Number 2, BYU will hold Wyoming to under 300 yards of total offense.
So back to the first 2 games.
Yes, like that trend will return, especially at home, at night, Lavelle Edwards Stadium.
I like that you're saying it because maybe it'll happen.
Okay.
Unlike
300 yards or fewer of total offense for Wyoming, and BYU will score 40-plus points. They go big time.
I hope you go 3 for 3.
Okay.
I really do. Okay, here's what I've got. 1, Christopher Brooks will rush for 70-plus.
All right.
I was going to say 100. I was feeling good on that, but I was like, last 2 games have been a struggle. Let's go for 70.
Well, Peeney's the G5 killer, so maybe he gets some more run, too.
Cougars cover. Okay. BYU wins by 23-plus.
All right.
Whatever that number ends up being, right?
Okay.
And then Chase Roberts will score a touchdown. Chase Roberts will return to get one in this
back into the end zone.
Because TBD on Puka and Gunner.
Yeah, especially if those guys don't play.
If those guys are out again, which honestly, I'm fine with them being out for this game. I would like to see them next week, a tune-up for Notre Dame against Utah State.
Yes.
So those are my 3 that I will probably go 1 for 3.
Yeah, Chase Roberts, Cody Epps, Keanu Hill, Braden Cosper, they got it covered against Wyoming.
Isaac Rex.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Our question of the day, what is your BYU game day guarantee against Wyoming tomorrow night? Let's hear from you, BYUSN, in Voice of the Nation. At Dallin WBYU on Twitter says BYU covers the spread, agreeing with one of your guarantees, Jarom. Yeah. 21.5 right now, and does so by dominating the trenches and establishing the run. So Dallin WBYU is right in line with your guarantees.
Got to do it. BYU's not going to need to throw like they did against Oregon because they were behind. Although BYU passed for a lot. But which, by the way, at some point, I want a 400-yard game from Jaron Hall.
Okay.
Like for his NFL stock and BYU's sake, first and foremost.
Chuck it all over the field.
A 400-yard game for Jaron. Because we know he takes care of the ball. We know he's efficient. Makes great throws. He needs to put up some stats in a couple of games here.
Puka and Gunner returning potentially could help out with that.
Yeah, right. Okay. This might be one. Who knows? Maybe next week.
Puka and Gunner are the big play receivers.
But Chase Roberts like, yo, you boys right here. Okay, join us tomorrow night, 8 Eastern Time, as we get you ready for BYU, ranked 19th in the country, against Wyoming, as the Cougars prepare for perhaps the end of an era against the Pokes. 8 Eastern on BYU TV.
Yeah, who knows? We also found time for Dennis Pitta.
Hey!
There's good reason
Dennis
for this, people. He's in studio as well.
Yeah, baby. Is he going to a workout right after? What's going on here?
We'll ask him next. Why is Dennis in studio? Big time is BYU Sports Nation.
This portion of BYU Sports Nation is presented by Bodyguards. Protection for a life worth living.
Tim Daly Ford in Spanish Fork offers a large inventory of Ford vehicles, including a selection of cars and trucks, providing a range of transportation choices. From the Ford Fusion sedan and the Edge crossover SUV to a range of pickups including the F-150. Each product line comes with options to enhance performance, comfort, and safety. Think Ford, think Tim Daly Ford in Spanish Fork.
meaningful legacy seem to be the ones who never intended to. The same person who loses himself seems to be the same that finds himself. And why? Well, they give the best of who they really are with no thought of return. Find a cause you can put your heart into, my son, in which to lose yourself. I started the Deseret Donor Advised Fund for this reason. Because in the end, my greatest legacy is you.
Let's kick off AFR on BYU TV.
What they did in that fourth quarter was not unexpected in my book.
Everyone did their job perfectly, and it resulted in, obviously, a touchdown.
Who knew that he had these kind of hands?
And right at the snap of the football, they both go right downhill. And that was the end of that. He knocked him down pretty quickly.
We are live in Studio B with your day-to-day BYU Sports play-by-play. I am Spencer Linton alongside Jarom Jordan, as you can see, joining us.
I always say we ran out of time. Today we did not.
We absolutely have time for Dennis Pitta, and there is good reason for this. Dennis is part of a very prestigious 2022 BYU Athletic Hall of Fame induction ceremony tonight. Dennis, congratulations.
Congratulations, dude.
One on graduating so that you could, make yourself eligible for this, and then being inducted.
And that's a big part of it. People don't realize you have to be graduated. You have to actually be a legitimate alumni to get this Hall of Fame nod. So had to take care of that first, and fortunately I was able to do that.
As we sadly chronicled recently, but Jim McMahon took a long time to get this.
Yeah, how long ago did Jim get in?
2014.
Yeah, not that long ago.
Yes, and unfortunately Jim's, that ceremony was during the Utah State game, moments after Taysom Hill breaks his leg. And it's like the worst possible situation, which just stunk for Jim. But what does this mean to you? Because obviously your career at BYU, it's been a sec, but like there's a 10-year minimum, I think. Like we could have done this had you graduated in 2019 maybe.
Yeah, I don't know.
2020, there's no fans.
Dennis, blame it on COVID, 2020.
So basically, what's your problem?
I was going to get it in 2020. There was a pandemic, apparently. No, I don't know all the criteria that goes into it. I know that I came to Austin Collie's, I think it was 2 years ago, right, during the pandemic, so that doesn't hold water anymore, that excuse.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So I introduced Austin at his banquet thing and all that, and so I got to kind of see it firsthand, and I remember just talking to, I think it was Duff Tittle, he's like, hey, just so you know, you got to graduate, dude. And like at that moment, I was like,
you realized at that moment you weren't graduated?
Yeah, at that moment I realized I'm not graduated. That's funny. No, Jayton, just let me finish, please. Okay, don't interrupt me while I'm telling a story.
Thank you, Dustin.
Thank you. So, did they really call you Jayton, by the way?
Yeah, some
That's
guy
way off.
called me Jayton.
Jerom's way better.
I know.
I'm not even sure what your real name is, to be honest.
I don't know either. I haven't seen the birth certificate.
Yeah. So, I don't even remember what story I was telling.
Yeah.
Austin, Duff's talking to you.
Yeah, so Duff was talking to me, and so in that moment I realized, you know what, and seeing Austin be able to go through all that, it was really cool. And not that I expected to be in the BYU Hall of Fame or anything like that, but
wait, what do you mean?
I just thought, listen, if this is potential for me, and someone like Duff was kind of hinting at like, listen, you got to finish, so that motivated me enough to go back to school and get it done, because when you're 10, 15 years removed from school, reapplying and doing, not reapplying, but getting back into it and getting back, taking tests and all that, it's tough sledding right there. So
good to know you're not self-motivated. But shout out to Duff for reminding you. And of course you were going to be in the Hall of Fame. You were unbelievable here, man.
I mean, listen.
I know you're being humble, but like, seriously. You were a Hall of Famer like
I appreciate that.
After your junior year, probably.
That's maybe the nicest thing you've ever said to me.
Absolutely.
I do appreciate that. And listen, I look back on my BYU career, and I'm incredibly grateful for all that I was able to accomplish, because my BYU career, as you guys know, did not start, very high profile. It was of humble beginnings, and I came to BYU, and I was Dustin.
You were yes.
I literally
had to
Dustin
change my
from
name
Gary
to Dustin
Croton.
just so Gary Croton knew who I was.
Dusty Buns from Stranger Things.
That's right.
Yeah.
So to be in this position now and to be able to look back and see all that I've accomplished at BYU is pretty remarkable and pretty humbling for me, considering everything that I went through.
With the helmet flying off so often, did you ever think you'd be a Hall of Famer after that? It's like, can I even keep my helmet on?
I know. I can't even properly strap my helmet on. How are they going to put me
Am I going to get the
Hall
ball?
of Fame? Yeah, that was always a challenge at BYU. It was never a challenge in the NFL. I don't know why.
With your helmet?
Yeah, my helmet. I can't remember a single time in the NFL where my helmet came off. Maybe, college, they just hit harder.
Okay.
But it was never an issue. I don't know. I can't really explain it.
In spite of that,
yeah, my BYU helmet just didn't fit right.
Yeah.
Yes. Dennis Pitta, not Dustin, Dennis Pitta, BYU Athletic Hall of Fame inductee, is with us on BYU Sports Nation. I interviewed Austin Collie, who is going to do like a little video interview about you. And,
spoiler alert.
I mean,
I knew that, actually.
Yeah. He said some incredibly kind things about you, but one of the things I liked the most that he said about you was, and he pointed to like himself and Max at first, and he's like, look, Max and I were very intense. Like, we wanted to like all football all the time, and sometimes that kind of like, it kind of pushed guys away from us. Like, you're too much for me. And he said, Dennis had this incredible ability to be like zoned in and locked in, like focused at all the right moments, but still be incredibly likable. So everybody loved Dennis regardless. Like, all 130 players on the roster loved Dennis, and Max and I, pretty much nobody liked us.
Too intense?
I mean, there's some truth to that. You know, like, listen, I was fortunate enough to play with Max and Austin because they taught me a lot about competitiveness, about work ethic, all those kind of things that really served me well from my BYU career on. And I owe those guys a ton because I kind of followed a lot of their example and stuff like that. But I'm very different personality-wise than Max and Austin in football. And that's completely true. And Max says that a lot, too. You know, we were coaching together out in Arizona for a long time, and Max would always say, listen, I always want Dennis around because he can kind of calm me down. And you know, I just feel like I am the personality that never takes anything too seriously. And I know I'm always pretty serious with you guys, so you haven't seen that side of me. But
second best number 32 in BYU.
If I can't enjoy doing something and I can't like be myself and have fun doing it, then I struggle to be any good at it. And so football for me, I wanted to be really good, and I worked hard, and I did all those things. But like, if I couldn't enjoy myself and I couldn't have fun in the process, then you know, it wasn't for me. So that was always something I tried to interject in everything. And you know, Max and Austin, I always tried to bring levity to the situation when they were a little bit jacked up and intense. But I think it worked for us. It was kind of a balance between, you know, their personalities and mine.
Is there a story there in game where you ever did something or said something that loosen the mood when it was tense, or anything come to mind there?
I don't know. I'm always the one, like, for example, with Max and I in coaching. You know, he'll turn around and he'll hear guys like kind of not paying attention talking, and I'll be in the middle of that circle in the back. And
you're the one distracting.
He'll yell back at the players, kind of indirectly at me, and guys, you know, he's yelling, "I'm guys, pay attention, focus," and I'm always the one kind of distracting everybody. So
as special teams coordinator?
As a special teams coordinator and wide receivers coach, yes. But, you know, I think you got to have fun in anything you're doing. And, you know, that might be distracting at times, I'm sure. And Max might get frustrated with that and all that. But I think it works. You have to have different types of personalities on a team. If everybody was too intense, you know, everybody would kind of be too on edge.
Yes.
And I think you have to have that kind of quiet confidence and relaxation within kind of that intensity that has to be there as well.
Plus, Robert and I is just screaming at you.
Robert and I, you know, he was such a laid-back, cool dude. Robert and I was as intense as they come, to be completely honest.
Yeah.
And so if I didn't bring levity to our tight end room, because he was our tight end coach.
Oh boy,
it would have been difficult. So
he's crushing it at Syracuse right now.
Yes, yeah.
They're doing really well.
Jason Beck, 3-0.
Are they? I haven't been following Syracuse football.
No one really does since Donovan McNabb.
3-0. Yeah, Micah Simon also involved as an offensive analyst on that squad.
Is he? That's awesome.
Yeah. And Quinn Edward Jr. They brought all the homies.
Coach and I has had success pretty much everywhere as an offensive coordinator. I mean, they did great things at Virginia with Bronco there, and so his methods work. You know, but his method is not my method. You know, and we have different approaches personality-wise to the game. But I think that's why, on those teams in particular, it worked a lot because we had a bunch of different personalities and guys that approached it different ways. And yeah, I think you have to have that.
That's what BYU needed at the time. Like BYU needed Bronco to sort of stabilize the discipline and be this sort of military type sense thing there. Which, by the way, do you want him to jump back in college football?
Oh, I would love it. I look back at my time with Bronco and I'm incredibly grateful that Bronco was our coach because, like you said, I came from Gary Croton. I left on my mission, and you know, nothing against Gary Croton, but there was not enough discipline within the program. I mean, guys were getting in trouble. It was just too relaxed of kind of a vibe there, and guys were getting away with too much. So Bronco came in, it was complete polar opposite. And he really dialed things in and brought that discipline and that work ethic and everything that BYU needed at that time to establish a foundation to build from. And so he was the perfect guy for that situation. And he was a perfect coach for me, in my opinion. And because I needed that structure. I needed that same kind of foundation because I can take things a little too lightly at times, you know, and so that kind of work ethic and everything that he instilled in me as a young player, I think was huge for my career as well.
So speaking of the tight end room, currently a
it's
shakeup,
a little different now,
major
right?
shakeup this week, obviously, with Dallin Holker announcing that he's entering the transfer portal and he wants to probably utilize his redshirt year. That's why he's doing it now, so that he can have 2 years wherever he goes. But that's a shock to the system, right? Because BYU and Kalani are so big on culture. And so this comes as kind of a major surprise. How do you expect the transfer of Dallin Holker to impact the BYU tight ends room right now?
Well, it's a big loss. It really is. I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I got to know Dallin a little bit just leading up to this season. I met him in the offseason, and I've talked to him on the phone a couple different times. And he's a great kid, number one. And he's a hard worker. I mean, the first time I met him, he had his wife shooting jug machine balls at him. And, you know, they had like newly married. They might have even been engaged.
And she's an athlete. She's what is she, track, I think?
She's a track athlete?
Track athlete, yeah.
Yeah, so like,
he knows what it takes.
The dude's pulling his wife over just in off time in the off season and catching more balls. Like he has a work ethic and he wants to be a great player. And I think BYU messed up a little bit in not utilizing him more. And I've been saying this from the beginning. Like, they have to find a way. When you have two talented tight ends, like you do in Isaac Rex and you had in Dallin Holker.
You dealt with this.
Yeah, I mean,
you and Andrew George.
I mean, and it is such a weapon to have two guys who can block. Now, I couldn't block, but they can, right?
Finally, you admit it.
I'll always admit that. All right, Andrew could block. I couldn't block.
Good blocker, yeah. But
to have two guys who can block at the line of scrimmage, but also be able to split out and run routes and be just total mismatches in the back end, I mean, it's such an advantage. And I really do feel like BYU is underutilizing those matchups, especially early in the season when you don't have your top two wide receivers in Gunner and Puka out on the field. Like, we should have seen Dallin Holker get a lot more balls. And I think that's played into his frustration early in the season. Because going into the season, you talk to Dallin, you talk to Roderick, you talk to those guys, like, he was going to be a big part of things. And you just didn't see it through the first few games for whatever reason. And you just didn't see him in position a lot. And I'm not putting this on Jaron Hall, because I didn't see him in position a lot to where he was the number one guy in a progression or kind of the number one receiver in a route.
Should Isaac Rex be the number one, though, given what Isaac's done the last couple of years?
The number one tight end?
Yes.
For sure. Are you talking about with Dallin?
Yeah, when you say Dallin should be the number one or whatever, it's like, well, BYU has a lot of options at receiver. It's a crowded room. I think that's where the problem is, Dennis. There's a lot of talented guys there.
Right, but Isaac wasn't in those positions either, is my point, right? And I think even Isaac would admit that Dallin's more of a receiver than he is. I look at Isaac as more of a complete tight end. He's more physical at the line of scrimmage. He's a better blocker, and also incredibly capable and has great hands and catch radius and all that as a receiver. But Dallin's more the receiving tight end.
Yeah, like you and Johnny types?
Me and Johnny?
No, Dallin is more comparable to you and Johnny Harleen.
I was like, I didn't necessarily play with Johnny. I did play with Johnny, actually.
Well, I mean, Johnny Harleen and you, more of the receiver tight end.
For sure.
Gotcha.
That's how I view Dallin, more so in that mold.
Gotcha.
And I'm not saying Isaac is just a blocking tight end, because he's incredibly capable. The dude scored 12 touchdowns his freshman year. And so, but Dallin needs to be in those positions where he can be the number one guy in a progression for a quarterback. And I didn't see that. I mean, really, you saw his ability in garbage time in that Oregon game. He had like 3 or 4 catches in a row at the end of that game, and you're sitting there realizing, like, why wasn't this guy more involved early on? And I just felt like he should have been. And I felt like it should have been from the start of this season, because when you have weapons like that on the inside, you can just really hurt defenses and create such incredible mismatches. NFL offenses all understand this. You know, if they have 2 good tight ends, guess what? Both those guys are going to be on routes constantly. You know, and if you have one good tight end, that guy's most likely your highest targeted guy in a lot of cases. Yeah. Travis Kelce, Darren Waller, those kind of guys. Mark Andrews for the Ravens right now. I mean, he's getting more targets than all their receivers combined right now, because he's a great tight end. And so I just think BYU missed the mark a little bit in utilizing those guys, and that's a big reason why Dallin transferred. I think he was frustrated with his role. he thought it would be a bigger year for him this year, and it just wasn't. So he wants to go to a spot where he can really prove himself, because I believe he's an NFL guy. I really do. And I think Isaacs is an NFL guy. And I think those guys need more opportunities.
Dennis Pitta is with us on BYU Sports Nation. We need to ask you about Wyoming, because you know what it's like to play against Wyoming. And we think this might be the last game that BYU has against Wyoming for quite a while.
It's a shame it's not in Laramie. Such a beautiful place.
No one?
Yeah.
What advice do you have for this year's BYU football team about playing against and preparing for the quote-unquote typical Wyoming team?
Yeah, Wyoming's always tough. You know, they just have, you know, tough cowboys or whatever you want to call them, right? And they're going to be physical. They're going to want to, you know, rough you up and all that. It's not going to be a finesse game. And so BYU, you know, and I think going back to that Oregon game, as a fan, you were a little bit disappointed in the physicality they brought to that game. I mean, Oregon just kind of beat them in the trenches up and down the field. And so you have to come in with a completely different mindset in this game against Wyoming, because Wyoming's going to want to do the same thing. They're going to want to beat you up in the trenches, and they're going to want to be tough, and they're going to hit you late, and they're going to do all those different things to try and get in your head and do that and be physical, because they think, you know, there's you know, a blueprint now to how to BYU, just out physical them at the line of scrimmage. And so BYU's got to really establish that early. And I think if they do, you know, this can be a runaway, because Wyoming's not as talented as BYU. We know that. You know, they don't have the skill position players like they do. They don't have a Jaron Hall on the other side. But they're going to be physical. They're going to be, you know, nasty and a little bit dirty, and BYU's got to manage themselves and kind of control their emotions and just play physical, tough, you know, high execution football, and it should be a good day. Now, I hope that, you know, for my sake, that this is a good game, but that we win, because, you know, I'm going to be honored at halftime. Well, if they screw this up for me, I'm going to be upset.
I don't know.
Don't interrupt me, Jaden. Okay?
It's Jayton.
Jayton. Sorry. Jarom, go ahead.
No, I'm waiting for you to finish.
No, I'm done. I'm done.
Now you're done?
Yeah, I'm done.
You don't care about the second half. You only care about the first half, because you're on it at halftime.
That's true. I'm out at halftime.
Yeah.
I got young kids. I may not even stick around for the second half. I will, actually. I like BYU football. That was a joke.
Yeah.
Dennis, congratulations.
Thank you, guys.
In all sincerity, on being an inductee for the 2022 BYU Athletic Hall of Fame.
That's tonight.
Very
for people
cool.
that know, if you didn't get the invite, don't show
Who's
up.
emceeing tonight? Did they choose? They chose Spencer.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
I wasn't sure.
I'm not involved. Yeah.
Yeah. Do they have like a Broadcasters Hall of Fame, like BYU Broadcasters Hall of Fame?
One day. We'll just create our own and throw
Spencer's
ourselves
on
in
track. Spencer, you are on track. Jerome, it's not for everyone.
It's gonna be Jay Monson, Paul James, Greg Rubel, Spencer Kent Linton.
Oh, my goodness. And Jayton Jordan.
And Jayton Jordan.
Jayton.
One day.
It's great to catch
I
up
like
with
that
you.
name better than your real name.
How dare you?
It's got a nice ring to it.
It's in the Book of Mormon. How dare you?
Take us to break, Jayton.
Coming up, Greg Rumbell, Riley Nelson, and Mitchell Juergens. 8 Eastern tomorrow on BYU Radio. They'll get you ready for this game where at halftime, 5 of the 6 notable inductees will be honored from BYU.
Plus, who's the best one-loss team in college football right now? BYU is somewhat included in this conversation. Are the Cougars the best one?
I got a clear answer on this one.
This is BYU Sports Nation.
BYU Sports Nation is presented by the BYU Store, official outfitter of BYU fans everywhere.
My name is Spencer Finnegan. I'm from St. Louis, Missouri. During my sophomore year, I got married to my sweetheart, Mary, and there's tons of unexpected expenses when it comes to marriage. We were looking for scholarships. I found the replenishment grant, and my local alumni chapter gave me a grant to help me focus in on school. I'm so excited to, now that I've graduated, give back to those students that are coming to BYU in the future.
This is where we dominate. Our playground, place of business. This is our promised land, where we seek to find ourselves. And we're here to make sure the spaces our best prove themselves on appear how they should. Intermountain Healthcare, official medical provider for BYU Athletics.
Life is full of competition. It helps measure progress, pushes us to improve, and whoops, it can be a whole lot of fun. BYU TV has its own kind of competition shows where sportsmanship rules, teamwork wins, and good character triumphs.
I wasn't just going to leave you there.
Whether it's about families competing or life lessons being taught, you'll want your family to see it together. Download the free BYU TV app today.
This is BYU Sports Nation. Make sure you follow us on social media from Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and TikTok. Full disclosure, we barely got to the chairs and from over there.
That's what happens in a live show.
Just talking to Dennis.
What happens in a live show?
Talking our ears off. We're like, hey, we got a TV show. Please stop talking.
We're going to need you on camera in like 6 seconds. So
literally.
He is Jarom Jordan. I'm Spencer Linton. Let's whip it. Cougar Whip Round presented by Maersk, your e-commerce logistics shipping partner.
Okay, Spence, Fox College Football asked who the best one-loss college football team is. What's your answer to this, and why is it BYU?
It's unbelievably not BYU. It is Oregon.
I agree.
Utah, Baylor, Oregon, and then it says other, but Jaron Hall and BYU are pictured in this graphic because they're just on the outskirts potentially. I mean, the case against everyone else besides Oregon is stronger because who has Utah beaten? Baylor lost head-to-head against BYU. BYU just lost to Oregon, who's on the list. So through 3 weeks, it's Oregon.
It's Oregon. You don't punish them for the Georgia performance, and you value them for the BYU performance.
What we need to say about the Georgia game, that was like a road game, okay? It was like playing at Georgia. It was in Atlanta.
Semi-away, as they say.
Yes. BYU women's volleyball, we mentioned, gets a sweep over LMU. What do you expect against 17th-ranked Pepperdine in the Smith Fieldhouse tomorrow?
A great match. BYU 60-2 in WCC home games under Heather Olmstead the last 8 years. The 2 losses, by the way, are to San Diego. It was ranked number 4. I expect a great match. Can BYU pull this off? They've got to clean up some things, Spence.
This would be big time for sure. I expect a BYU win, but this feels like a 4 or 5 set match.
Let's go. At the BYU Baylor game, BYU TV gave out these clear bags to fans as they entered the stadium.
Yep. Let's go ahead and show these off.
Yeah. Now we get this tweet from Colin Bishop. My BYU Sports Nation bag is working like charms at airports. TSA always takes the grits for further inspection. I don't know what that means, but my dad had grits for breakfast yesterday on his birthday. Now I don't have them rummaging through my entire bag. Nathan Young also weighs in. So I came home from work a week and a half ago and found one of these on my kitchen table. I live in Oklahoma. I learned that my son's math teacher got it while supporting her Baylor Bears. Gave it to my son. He's been known to wear BYU swag occasionally. Spencer, what's the actual purpose of these bags?
I have no idea, Jarom.
Is it a scripture case?
Yeah, maybe.
Is that what we gave to the people?
It could be. It could be. Phone holder?
Phone holder? That's a big freaking phone.
Like you keep your things in it for game day, like a water bottle, a phone.
Yeah.
Anything else you take with you to the stadium that is approved? I don't know.
Take home great memories.
The question is, do you wear it on your hip, or do you wear it like around your waist, or do you wear it over your shoulder?
Over the shoulder like Jamal. No, he's a fanny pack guy.
Yes, exactly right.
Okay, coming up Saturday, as mentioned, big volleyball match, 3 Eastern time, 16th ranked BYU, 17th ranked Pepperdine, 3 Eastern time on BYU TV and the app.
Up next, we introduce you to BYU basketball legend Tim Schloss. They also call him Slick Nick. Not really sure why that's a thing, but it is. This is BYU Sports Nation.
This is so good.
Woo!
This portion of BYU Sports Nation is presented by Maersk, your e-commerce logistics shipping partner.
BYU Food to Go's convenient location at 2191 North Canyon Road in Provo makes bringing popular BYU foods to your next event easy. Everything's ready when you need it at the drive and load pickup. You drive in and they load no matter the weather. And stop in the on-site creamery for great BYU chocolate milk and ice cream. BYU Food to Go, bringing campus to your table. Call for details, 801-422-5001.
Introducing the truck for adventure. The all-new 2022 Nissan Frontier doesn't compromise on power or comfort. This midsize truck was redesigned to incorporate the latest technology and designs for safety, comfort, and convenience. Plus, with up to 6,700 pounds of towing capacity and best-in-class horsepower, it's rugged enough for adventure and still safe enough to transport all your favorite people. Where's your new Frontier? You'll find it at Tim Dowling Nissan Southtown and South Jordan.
We know you aren't fair weather fans. And neither are we. Watch on our free BYU TV app, rain or shine.
Welcome back to BYU Sports Nation. We are live in Studio B on Friday. Yesterday, BYU basketball head coach Mark Pope decided to have a little fun during walk-on tryouts, and he enlisted one Jimmer Fredette to help him out with these walk-on tryouts, or should we say he enlisted Tim Slick Nick Schloss. Enjoy.
I started thinking everything. I'm like, who is this guy?
I didn't know it was him until Coach Pope said something about it.
Man, that's Jimmer. Super cool opportunity to be able to play with Jimmer.
Cougar Nation, what's up? This is Jarom here, and we are going undercover to walk-on tryouts. Can't wait. About to make some shots.
Slick Nick's about to destroy this tryout.
Here for tryouts. Thank you. Appreciate you. How are you, Coach?
What's your name?
Timmy.
Timmy?
Timmy Schloss. Timmy Schloss. Friends call me Slick Nick, though.
Slick Nick?
Yeah. From Cincy.
You want us to call you Slick Nick?
Either way. Whatever feels comfortable to you. Clap it up. Getting the sweat going early. Nice. I got you. My fault. My fault. Can't go under. I'm in Merrill Hall, in the dorms. I got you. Oh, 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 pass. Finish that. I'm here, I'm here. Hey, good job. I'm a freshman. I'm from Cincinnati.
Are you 18?
19. Hey!
Jam, I recognize you from somewhere, man.
That's it. 8. 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Do I keep going? Woo! Good job, good job.
Right? Make sure you get that second guy here. Reverse, reverse.
We got 4 men up here. 3. Good job.
That's really good. At 6:30 in the morning, just get it, come in here and walk in this gym, especially when he's having get a play.
What's up, guys? Jimmer Fredette.
No.
You got the fat suit on, man. It's fun. I don't know how that stomach was doing. Good job, fellas. Good to see you guys.
So you're not from Cincinnati?
I'm not from Cincinnati. I'm from upstate New York. Upstate New York. Good to see you guys. Hey, Cougars on 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Slick Nick from Cincinnati.
Yeah, you're a freshman. You're 18?
Tim Schloss. His name is Tim Schloss, and we're supposed to call him Slick Nick.
Slick Nick.
Whatever.
Tim Schloss, which he was handed that hoodie, which, by the way, I saw all the gear in the makeup room today. I was like, oh, the remnants of Slick Nick.
Yeah.
Yeah, fun kind of rip off, what happened with Eli Manning the other
Chad
day.
Powers.
Chad Powers.
Fast Chad.
Fast Chad. Chad runs fast. Fast Chad. So funny. I could see that form anywhere in the world and be like, that's Jimmer Fredette. Because that arm is straight as an arrow. Like,
it's so pure.
That form is so freaking pure.
Pure.
That's fun. And Jimmer will never need a fat suit. That guy is cut still. Jeez. Monday at 9 Eastern, join us for BYU men's basketball season preview. Live from day one of practice, coaches mic'd up in the Marriott Center. It's going to be awesome. Ty Haas and I will be there on BYU TV.
Will Timmy Schloss be there is the real question.
Perhaps. Stay tuned.
Slick Nick, there's room for you at practice. Up next, will Jarom get his first BYU Sports Nation fantasy football victory this week? Get something up your sleeve?
A fat suit.
This is BYU Sports Nation.
I'm wearing a fat suit.
BYU Sports Nation is presented by the BYU Store, official outfitter of BYU fans everywhere.
If you're looking to build your brand awareness and increase market share as BYU moves into the Big 12, this is the place, BYU Athletics. We can provide the tools you need to make sure your company is seen and heard. BYU Athletics is where you can align your products and services with loyal fans that cheer for our Cougars. And they can also help your business win. Learn more about what a partnership with BYU Athletics and your company will look like. After all, this is the place. Email sponsorship at byu.edu today.
Before I was a coach at BYU, or before I was even a player, I was a BYU fan. That's why BYU football exists, is because of the fans. To have a bunch of fans that want to see you be aggressive, I think everybody can live through our 123 guys on the roster and the 11 that are on the field at a time. Really, it all starts and ends with the fans.
People have been telling me what I could do and couldn't do. I've always listened to them, believed in what they said. I don't want to do that anymore.
In this lifetime, you don't have to prove nothing to nobody except yourself.
Hey, what are you doing? Don't treat me like your brother, man.
You were born to wear that jacket.
You ready, champ? I've been ready for this my whole life.
This portion of BYU Sports Nation is presented by Mountain America, the official credit union of BYU Athletics.
If you haven't already, download the BYU TV and
Please
BYU
do.
Radio apps on demand. Subscribe to the podcast, rate and review it, baby.
It's pretty simple, actually. Also pretty simple are the straightforward dynamics of BYU Sports Nation fantasy football. It's a Fantasy Football Friday. We're making our selections. I'm 3-0. Jarom's on 3. He's trying to get on the board in the victory column this week. Here are the rules.
Probably not.
We each have 7 current or former BYU players on our rosters. Each week we pick 3 from those 7-player rosters who will start. Each week we can replace 1 player via the waiver wire. Whoever lost the prior week gets first choice on the waiver wire. So, Jarom, do you have a waiver wire selection?
I do not, so go ahead if you've got one.
All right, on the waiver wire, I am dropping Peyton Wilgar this week to pick up Jamal Williams for the Detroit Lions.
Very nice.
I feel like Jamal has a good matchup this week. Just might sneak one of those touchdowns, goal line situations. So I'm picking him up on my team. All right, who are your starters?
I am making a waiver wire pickup now that you dropped Peyton. I'm dropping Jake Oldroyd and picking up Peyton Wilgar.
Wow.
But I'm not going to start him. Okay. I take it back. I keep Jake. Here are my starters. Chris Brooks. I need Jake later. He's going to score points. Chris Brooks, Ben Bywater, BYU's leading tackler, Chase Roberts, new starter this week. I did not play him last week.
Okay.
These are my starters. Chris Brooks, show up for me, baby.
Yeah. Listen, if Gunnar and Puka do not play, Chase Roberts is a great play here. It could be big time.
It's a great play either way because he's my only receiver.
Okay. My starters, Jaron Hall. Okay. He's been my go-to guy. Then I'm going to go with a couple of NFL dudes, Fred Warner and my recent waiver wire pickup, Jamal Williams.
I like your group.
Okay.
I like your group.
Jaron.
I'm about to go on 4.
Fred and Jamal hopefully lead me to a 4th consecutive victory in our head-to-head fantasy.
Again, I'm waiting for Zach Wilson. I need Zach Wilson back.
Yes. Once Zach Wilson gets back, things get very interesting.
I also forgot he plays for the Jets, though.
Hey, the Jets just had a 300-yard passer in Joe Flacco for the first time in like 20 years.
Let's go.
All right. Our question of the day. What is your BYU game day guarantee for the contest against Wyoming? Our elite voice of the day presented by PAX Healthcare Elevated. Borge Tire, Brandon Bourget says, BYU will have the best uniforms on the field. That is his game day guarantee.
No doubt.
So white helmets, navy jersey, navy pants.
White, navy.
Okay. Today's Rise and Shout Out presented by Mountain America, the official credit union of BYU Athletics. Pretty cool situation happening on Saturday night.
This has been in the works for a long time. And the Black 14 are going to be honored. 2 members of that group who in 1969 played for Wyoming, wanted to wear armbands to protest BYU, were then kicked off the team for just the idea. Tomorrow they will be honored at the game. Spence, you're going to talk to 2 members who are in town who have worked with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints on trying to get rid of hunger, right, and healing there. The BYU Communications Department has done a tremendous job of an article and now a documentary that tonight at the Varsity Theater in the Wilkinson Center will premiere and be on demand as well soon on the BYU TV app. So this is going to be a great weekend to honor those guys now in Provo, which, listen, in the 60s, you never would have thought this would have ever happened. It's great that it's happening tomorrow.
Absolutely. So cool that Wyoming in 2016 brought those guys back, gave them their Letterman's jackets, and had just an amazing ceremony. Documentary is really, really cool. A lot of really insightful things in that, and so I encourage you all to go and watch it.
I'm excited to see it.
Yeah.
It's going to be great.
Great stuff.
And shout out to the students who did it.
Yeah,
this is a
the
student
Daily
project.
Universe Communications Department.
They're doing great work over there.
All right. Our thanks to today's guest, Hall of Famer Dennis Pitta.
How about, well, not yet. Not yet.
Should we give a shout out to Slick Nick too?
And Slick Nick. We had time for Dennis today, so there's that.
For Jarom Jordan, I'm Spencer Linton. Shout out to the Phantom, Eldon Forti. We'll see you tomorrow for volleyball at 3 Eastern, and then BYU Sports Station game day at 8 Eastern. Go Cougs.